welcome to episode 25 of the Calon Yarns podcast. My name is Lynn, and as always I'm coming to you from Cardiff in Wales in the UK, and this, as you know if you are a returning viewer, is a knitting, crochet, sometimes spinning, sometimes dyeing, usually fortnightly podcast, but at the moment I am coming to you weekly. We are still in lockdown here in the UK, and so therefore with a little bit more time at home I am, as I say, coming to you weekly. If you are a new viewer, thank you so much for dropping by. I hope you like what you see. I'm glad you have found us. And if you are a returning viewer, as always, thank you so much for coming back. I really appreciate you all giving me some of your time today. And I hope you have a cuppa, a drink, hot drink, cold drink, and you have your project bag and you are working through a little bit of Sleeve Island maybe, or your socks or a blanket, whatever you have got on the hooks or needles. I hope it is giving you lots and lots of joy, especially at the moment. It is quite stressful times. We have been given an extra 3 weeks here in Wales, extra 3 weeks lockdown. Scotland is the same, Wales is the same, and I think England announced what they're going to do on Sunday. So, lots of time at home for me. It is Saturday, I did write it down, it's the 9th of May, because dates and days seem quite tricky at the moment. But yes, it is the 9th of May, and it is a glorious day, really warm. So, this sweater that I have on, I may need to change a bit because already it is rather warm. But those of you that have been here for a while, yes, finally I have finished my Chauncey sweater. This is a pattern by Kraemer, and it is a top down, very light fingering weight pullover, and I'm just gonna get up for you so you can see I've kind of made it a little bit cropped. Just this high-waisted jeans, so this kind of just sits just above my hips or on my hips. Sleeves, nice and long. I like to pull them over a little bit. So yeah, I am very pleased with it. I love the colour. It's a bit tricky to see in this light, but you might be able to catch some glimpses of some darker blacks in there. Yeah, it's a slight Marley colour with little bits of dark black in there with the red, and I couldn't be more thrilled. I really like it. I was concerned when I started that it was going to be a little bit small. My gauge was slightly off, so I had a bit of a panic block midway and kind of blocked the colour work just to check, and it seemed to be okay, but it has really worked out well. So I thought I would give a bit of a recap on everything, because it's taken me, let me see, when did I cast it on? Yes, 12th of Feb I started, and what are we on now? The 9th of May. February, March, April, oh, it's taken me a good couple of months. Yes, so the yarn I used was, here it is, Isagar Tvinny Tweed, and I would definitely use this yarn again. It has come up with a really light but definitely warm fabric, which is very it's softened up lots. It is a rustic yarn, but it is really softened up. I don't have a t-shirt on underneath, and it's feeling absolutely fine. Even when it's warm, it feels absolutely fine, so I'm very pleased with that. This is 510 meters to 100 grams, and it is a Danish company, and it's 100% pure wool. Colour shade 32S if you are interested. I thought I wouldn't have enough because the pattern called for more, and the pattern is 13.5 inches, I think, is the length of the body, and I've only gone to 10.5 inches because I wanted it slightly cropped, and I had 200 grams of the yarn, and that's sort of what I've got left. So I've probably got about 30 grams there, I'd say. It's weird, it comes in 100 gram skeins, but within the skein there are two 50 gram skeins twisted together. So yeah, I've probably got around 35 grams in there, I think. So I would, yeah, definitely use that yarn again. And then this one is the Ravelry Lamul yarn. That one is very white. Come on, there we go. And again, a light fingering weight, I would say. This is 50 grams. I bought 2 of these skeins, 50 grams at 250 meters. So it was a really good match for the weight of the yarn. The pattern said to do it on a 3.5 and a 3.25, is that right? Yes, a 3.5 and a 3.25. But like I said, that gauge wasn't really working for me, so I went down to a 3.25 and a 3. And I think in US sizes, 3.25 is a 3, and the 3 I guess is a 2.5. So quite thin needles, but I changed to higher sharps because the wool is quite sticky, so I needed to be able to get through those stitches. Yes, so no more Chauncey Sweater talk. It is complete, finally. And as I say, I really enjoy it. I can't wait for it to get a bit cooler. I say that. I can wait. I can just about wait for it to get cooler because I shan't be wearing it in the warm. It is very warm as it is. Yes, hooray! Finished object off the needles. Hurrah, hurrah. So as soon as this came off the needles, I had to cast on some other bits and bobs, of course. But we'll get to those in a minute because I have another sweater that is on the needles, and this is the Botanical Garden Sweater by Inga Semmingsen, a Norwegian designer. And it's a beautiful yoke. I will put it here. I'll put a picture up here of lovely hummingbirds, and it's a really elaborate yoke. So I'm getting along with that quite nicely. Here we go. So this is the yoke as it's panning out. So there's some nice vine motifs there at the top. And then this is a wrapped stitch, which was a little bit fiddly to start with, but I really like the effect. And I think when it's blocked, it'll open out and puff out, and that'll be very effective. And then these little motifs here, and I've just started the main section, which is the hummingbird bit. And it's really, they're quite long pattern repeats. So it's one of those ones that you've got to kind of keep your head in the game. It's not the normal like 1 2 2 3 1 1 2 3, you know, those little, the blocky stitches, the smaller motifs. You've really got to know where you are. So I've marked out, as I usually do, with the stitch markers, so that I know. I think it's like 66 stitches between pattern repeats, so that I can kind of keep an eye on where I am heading. Yeah, so that is a nice little sitting down, concentrating. I've dropped a stitch. Hang on, everyone, breathe. That's the thing with the higher needles. They are so slippery that as soon as you move it, they fall off the edge. I should really change to a longer cable. There we go, that's nice and safe now. But I did a little provisional cast on for the neck because I'm going to add the neckline later. It's quite a high neck, as I said before. So once I've got the weight of the yoke there, I think I'll rejoin up to do the neckline and see how high I want it. This sort of neckline is perfect for me, actually. This is probably my most preferred neckline. Not too wide, but it isn't up here around my neck. At the moment, you know, I'm at that stage where I get a bit warm sometimes, so it's good not to have anything too tight up here. Speaking of that, I'm going to take a slurp of water. That is the good thing, actually, about non-superwash yarns, is that they do regulate your temperature really quite nicely. So even though it's an absolutely boiling day outside, it doesn't feel too bad. I think I can manage. I don't think I'll have to change into my t-shirt. So only one sweater on the needles. Who is this person? I do not know. But it is good to have smaller projects to hand at the moment. Work is quite busy, so yes, it's nice to be able to jump between little projects rather than too many commitments for bigger projects at the moment. So saying that, my smaller projects are a couple of pairs of socks. Well, a few months ago I was talking about how I had completely lost my sock mojo and was just kind of doing the general round and round vanilla socks, etc, etc. But I seem to have regrouped and now have a bit of a sock mojo, and I think that's down to the new Lane book, the 52 Weeks of Socks, which have some beautiful patterns in it. So my friend Karen and I had many discussions of what was going to be the first sock, because we couldn't just choose ourselves. We had to have a collaboration on this sock. So we have both chosen the sock that we both really liked the best in the book, and that was lucky that we shared that opinion. And it is a pattern by Rachel Coopy of KZIPKNITS. I have a couple of her books anyway, and have met her a couple of times at Wonderful Wales, which is a yarn festival in mid Wales. So it was nice to be able to use some of her yarn for her socks. So I'm just going to show you the picture. It's slightly difficult because there's lots of information on the pages, but these are the socks I have gone for. So they're a little bit cabley, nice little pattern, a nice little texture. I really like the way the kind of the toes have that detailing right the way down to the end. So yes, that is the first choice from the 52 Weeks of Socks book. And I looked in my stash and I had some of Rachel Coopy's sock yarn, which is the Socks Yeah type, and that they're only 50 gram skeins, the ones that I have. So there's 212 meters in here, and I have gone for a nice teal colour. I'm clearly in a teal phase at the moment. I'm usually like a more of a darker blue, but teal seems to be my shade for the summer, I think. The camera's blowing it out a little bit. It's a little bit darker teal than that, but it is a nice kind of marley effect to the wool. And I am doing it on my Sock and Wonder, which is a 2.5, which is, let me just check, 2.5 is a US 1.5, I think. And that is the packet for the Sock and Wonder. If you haven't tried one of these before, I would absolutely recommend. They, if you like knitting on the 9-inch circulars, they're really good. They kind of, they're one smaller needle and one larger needle, and you whiz round pretty quickly. Let me show you. So this is, I've only done the cuff so far. So one is smaller. Can you see that's the smaller one? And that's the slightly bigger one. So yeah, so I tend to keep the smaller one in my right hand and the longer one in my left. These socks I'm knitting UK style, English style, so I'm throwing for these socks. But I have practiced continental style on a couple of projects now. So my other pair, they are continental style knitting. But a lovely rib as well. And you see there, it's a kind of a split rib pattern. 2 sections of larger rib and 1 section of smaller. I'm not going to give the pattern away, obviously, but it's creating a really nice squishy cuff. So I'm just about to start the main body, the pattern now, so I need to kind of set up the stitches as the cuff kind of bleeds into the pattern. So yeah, I'll probably crack on with that today. The lighting is slightly different at the moment because I usually record in the morning, but it is now the afternoon, so the lighting is slightly different. I hope it's not too dark. What else? So my second set of socks is yarn that I've had in my stash for a year, and I bought this from Wet Coast Wools when I was over in Vancouver last summer, which seems like a lifetime ago now. And it was part of a thing called the Ultimate Kit, which she does with Puzzle Tree yarns and Beach House of Vancouver. So it was a sock bag, a sock yarn, and also a contrast yarn for cuffs and toes. So in each, I think KZIPKNITS did the main yarn colour, and then Puzzle Tree Yarns, I think, did the contrast colour, and then Beach House made the sock bag, which I'll show you next week. And yes, I wasn't quite sure how it would knit up actually, because it's only 2 colours, and it was clear that the skein was dyed in 2 halves, so it was a solid grey side and a solid yellow side, and that's how it looks in the cake. But it is working up very much like a, oops, drop it on the floor, in a pretty much a little single single row stripe. So that is, there's hardly any pooling at all. So I'm really liking that, because I'm not overly a yellow person normally, but when it was partnered with this grey, again, bit tealy colour, I thought that was really, really lovely. And the contrast colour for the heel and toes is a sort of slight grello. It's a yellow but with a darker greeny shade on it, with it. So that would be a really nice contrast for the heel and toes. And this one I'm doing on a 2mm needle. So I've only got two sock wonders. One is a 2.5 and one is a 2. I wish they would do a 2.25 really, because that would be my preferred size for socks, but I haven't managed to track one down yet. If you know if they do them in a 2.25, that would be really good to know, and I will get ordering. But again, a smaller needle and a larger needle, and this is the one that I'm doing continentally, so the yarn is in my left hand. And this is, I only cast this on I think day before yesterday. This is a project that sort of sits on my desk. I say my desk like I have a fancy desk. We'll talk about that in a second, working from home, the joys of working from home. But it kind of, it's moves along very quickly, and it's one that I kind of can pick up and put down whenever. This is probably my only stocking stitch project at the moment, my only round and round, not having to concentrate project at the moment. And it lives in a very new acquisition, very much a treat to myself, which is my new Hide and Hammer sock bag. There's the lovely Hide and Hammer logo there. And this is a leather and canvas bag, and it is perfect size for a sock project, and it's nice that it's nice and sturdy, so you can kind of just chuck it in the car, put it on the floor, whatever, and away to go. So yeah, that is sort of all I have on the needles, as in projects I am working on. I've got a couple of projects that are languishing in project bags because there's some decisions to be made with them really. Are you a bit like that? There, I've got a shawl that I need to decide what I'm going to do to the next section. The pattern seems a little bit complicated for where my head is at the moment, so I'm thinking about just doing a garter section on that. So I need to kind of get to grips with that and think about, I might have to do some maths, you know, and that to me is just terrifying. So that is languishing a little bit. I have a brioche shawl that is also languishing. But I'm having lots of joy with these smaller projects, and my sweater at the moment is giving me a nice bit of colour work hit. And that really is all I've got going at the moment. I should really have a look at those blankets. I've got quite a few blankets in bags, but hey, then I'd probably have to dust the bag, and it's too warm for blankets, so that's the excuse I'm giving to myself at the moment. What are you up to? Are you managing to keep on track with projects, or have you got a few tucked away somewhere? I'd love to know. I'd love to know that I'm not the only one. I'm sure I'm not, but it would be nice to have some reassurance. I keep looking over there because they are there. They're on my shelf, my languishing project bags, just looking at me going, oh, you used to love us so much and now we are quiet. I will get back to them soon, I'm sure. I just have to get these socks out of my system first, I think. What else have I been up to? Nothing knitting and crochet wise. We just had a bank holiday on Friday. Usually bank holidays are Mondays, but we had a bank holiday to celebrate the 75 years of our VE celebration, Victory in Europe, from the Second World War. So it was a bank holiday Friday. Now I had forgotten this, so I had managed to book myself the busiest day of meetings for work on Friday, working through on Zoom all day from 10 o'clock in the morning till about 7:30 in the evening. So that was not a good move. I don't know really how I managed to do that. I think it's because in my diary it had the Monday was the bank holiday. I hadn't kind of, you know, actually listened to the world that was telling me something very different. But there we go. So my hope is, why I'm telling you this, my hope is that on Wednesday I'm looking quite quiet in work. Don't tell anyone, for goodness sake. So I'm thinking I'm probably going to take my bank holiday, if I can, on Wednesday, or at least a half day, if I can get away with it, because I am very keen to get back on my spinning wheel. I was so desperate to get this done and dusted that I was racing forwards, only working on this to get it done. Sleeve Island is never a great joy, and once you get past about there, I think this bit of Sleeve Island is really, really dull. So yeah, I dedicated my time to that, and my spinning wheel has been languishing really, and that is a new skill to me, but I have been gaining lots and lots of joy and quiet time from my spinning wheel at the moment. So I only have about 100 grams of fibre left, so I want to kind of carry on with that really, and that is my plan for Wednesday. Monday and Tuesday busy, but Wednesday is going to be a spinning day, I have decided. And I've also ordered some tops from John Arbon Textiles, so I can't wait for them to arrive to show you those. Some really, really lovely colours. I did try and get some of the Wonderwool Wales colours, but they seem to sell out very quickly indeed. But yeah, some unusual colours for me as well, I think. But I will show you, when they arrive, I will show you, see what you think. What else have I been up to? As I say, work is busy. Teaching online is not a joy for a practical course, but students are doing well. That is all fine and dandy. But I would like to tell you about a tale of woe, really, that is a little bit of a cautionary tale, I think, and it is to do with my friend Tracy. Now, as I said last week, Tracy is new to sock knitting, and she has done brilliant things. She's knitted a sock, her first sock, full on heel flap gusset, glorious. It was a bit fiddly. Has now completed her second sock. Hooray, which was much easier, as they always are. If you have never knitted socks, I absolutely recommend you jump on the sock train. Have a go. It's not as difficult as it looks. So, and this is the perfect time, if you are stuck at home a little bit more, this is the perfect time to try new things, don't you think? So yeah, she has done really well with that. However, she decided she wanted to knit a sweater. She's done lots of sweaters, as our Trace, not a problem at all. Colourwork sweaters, glorious. So she wanted to knit a sweater for her husband. He knows, that's okay, it's not a spoiler alert. A glorious sort of Norwegian, Scandinavian yoke. We looked for wool when we were in Norway earlier this year. Gosh, yeah, it was only this year. Couldn't really find anything she liked or was suitable. So when we got back, lots of discussion. We found some yarn that seemed to kind of match up with the gauge. She did a gauge She did a gauge swatch. All was going very, very well. Cast it on, lovely. But when it was tried on, neck a little bit too wide. So we thought, oh, maybe it's because we've substituted yarn. All this, of course, being via FaceTime or Zoom or whatever, because we can't go around and see her. So we decided that we would have to adapt the neck, so she maybe needed to just make it smaller to begin with, and then as she goes down the yoke, increase down the yoke. I was asking her, are there any yoke increases that she could look at? Yeah, there were a few there, wasn't sure. So we did some maths together, and she started it. Great, lovely. Recast it on a few times to get the perfect number, was working down really nicely. And then she realised that the pattern is a bottom up. Yeah, yes. But you see, the problem was that those horrible little pattern imps, you know, the ones that take words out of the pattern, and then when you look again 3 or 4 weeks later, when you've realised that something is wrong, and you look back at the pattern and they put the words back in. Unfortunately, that is what had happened to our dear Tracy. The pattern imps had taken the word waist from the pattern and then put it back in a couple of weeks later. Naughty, huh? So where it said cast on for the waist, those words weren't there apparently first time round. So yeah, no wonder the neckline was large, that it was coming in as a little bit of an off the shoulder number, because it was the waist. So the moral of that story is, make sure you read the patterns, or the moral of that story is keep an eye out for those cheeky pattern imps that may steal words from patterns. I've had them in my house as well, actually. Yeah, they're almost as terrifying as moths, aren't they, if you've got lots of knitting projects on the go. But it is weird. It is weird how those words aren't there. You read the pattern again and again and again, and what you have in your hand does not match the pattern. You throw it, you place it gently back in the knitting bag, you put that knitting bag on the side, but then a couple of days later, when you look back at the pattern, miraculously, it all makes sense. So there we go, cautionary tale, always read the pattern clearly. But it all is fine now. She has gone back, ripped it all back, started at the waist. And weirdly, everything's fine now. Everything's fine, happy days, all good stuff. So yeah, she's been working hard to rectify that and has learnt a lesson there too, I think. So what else? I think that that is probably enough lecturing from me about reading patterns. I've done it myself loads. What else have we been up to? Nothing really. We're still home. As I say, we've got 3 extra weeks added to our lockdown. Wales has decided to go for 3 more weeks. Scotland decided to go for 3 more weeks, and England announced on Sunday, so we will see. I hope they say the same. I know it is difficult because we need to kind of get businesses back up and running, but it just doesn't seem that it's the right time yet to stop, to allow us to kind of go back out, even with social distancing. In my opinion, our infection rates and our death rates are still far too high. Although it was, I was talking to one of my Danish students yesterday, and she was saying that they are lifting the lockdown then on Sunday, so she was going to head out for a coffee in her favourite coffee shop, and that made me go, oh please, that would be really lovely, wouldn't it? But it is not to be yet. But there we are. My family are well, healthy, getting on okay. My home office consists of a camping table in my bedroom. Honestly, I feel like I'm doing my A-levels again. I feel like I'm back home, and studying in my bedroom. I just kind of seem to get up, have a shower, set up my camping table, do my day's work, have some dinner, have a shower, go back to bed. That's sort of it at the minute, but that's fine. I am not on the front line, so it's no problem from me. That is absolutely fine. I think I'm going to stop there. I've blathered on quite long enough. I hope you guys are well. I hope your knitting or your crochet or your spinning is giving you a little bit of joy. I hope wherever you are, that you are hopefully going to be getting back to some sense of normality, the new normal soon, and that you can start to meet up with friends and family. That is what I am absolutely looking forward to doing. I'm looking forward to meeting up properly in person with my yarn buddies, because it's all very well offering advice via Zoom or whatever video platform we're on. It's not the same as going, just give it here, let me show you. So I look forward to be able to do that very, very soon. I hope, fingers crossed, in these next few weeks we might turn the corner. But as I always say, if you are an NHS worker, thank you so, so much. If you are on the front line, if you are keeping this country moving forwards, again, thank you very much indeed. The clapping in the streets on a Thursday night is a good thing, but it seems nowhere near enough. So thank you for keeping us safe and well. I think I'm going to leave it there, guys, and get on with my socks and also cook some dinner. Have a great rest of the weekend. Have a really lovely week, and I will catch up with you again next Saturday. Yes, see, I did remember what day it was. It's a Saturday. I will see you again next Saturday. Take care all, keep well, keep safe. Catch up with you soon. Hoi bao.